In today's video, I'll go over my dream custom built desk. Since March of 2020, I had been working from home like most people who could do so. In my day job, I'm a software engineer and I do long hours of coding, handling software problems, attending countless Zoom calls, interacting with colleagues around the globe, and developing critical projects. After it became clear that COVID-19 was going to be here for some time, I decided to create a new desk, which will allow me to work for longer hours in a more comfortable fashion. The first thing I actually did was to change my chair. It used to be an ordinary dining chair, but then I bought this gaming chair to give me a good back and lumbar support. So far, so good. Next was the desk. I wanted a wide surface area, preferably the entire width of the study room. This is so that I can keep my laptop, my monitors, my keyboard, mouse, external hard disk drive, notepads, pens, mobiles, chargers, and even some fake IKEA plants. I like this idea of a sit-stand desk because it enables you to stand and work as well. I was a bit skeptical if I would actually use this feature, the reason being that in the 15 years in my company, I never used the stand feature over there. But at home, I do sometimes stand for around 4 hours in a day now, and I feel that it actually improves your concentration. The only issue with standing is that you need something cushy underneath, and for that I got this pretty IKEA rug that's so comfy. For my late night video editing, watching movies and all that, I decided to create some accent mood lighting. So I wired in a 5-meter length LED strip lights, and these do add that extra touch of style. So with all of that in mind, I started designing my dream desk. In this video, we'll see how I reused this beautiful oak kitchen worktop, created the separate monitor stand that floats, and mated this worktop with these sit-stand legs from Flexispot. So let's start with the build. The desk is going to be cut to size from this 4-meter long rustic oak kitchen worktop. Now to get a perfect straight edge, I clamped down a 12-inch square, and then to hold the track down firmly, I clamped them with this hold down clamps. The clamp seems to work well even though it is not really intended for this use. Now with the worktop cut, I proceeded to sand it. Just in case if you're wondering, I bought this kitchen worktop seconds on eBay from a discount outlet. Here I'm cutting down an offcut for the monitor stand. Being a rustic seconds worktop, there were a few imperfections and knots, so I filled that up with layering in with super glue. Here, I'm drawing a slight curve on the center of the worktop. For that, I used a rope to get that radius. This slight curve is more for a visual appeal. Then I cut that out with a jigsaw. Next, I gave all the edges a round over. This is my 1980s Triton work center with my half-inch router. I have the start-stop markers on the table and started routing out a dado. This is to house the LED strips that will come further down in the video. Next is drilling some 60mm holes for these desk grommets. There will be 3 such grommets on the rear of the tabletop. 3 of the holes partially drilled from the top, I flipped the table upside down and then drilled from the back to avoid any tear-outs. Then I gave the holes a slight chamfer. And now for a test fit. Next, I added a 90mm legs for the monitor stands. They are going to be 16 cm wide at the top, tapering down to 13 cm. It works out to around 12-degree angle, and I cut them on the miter saw. Then I filled in any voids, dings, cracks with some quick setting thin CA glue. I didn't want to glue in the monitor stand in case I change my mind in the future, so these are going to be attached by these heavy duty coach bolts. For this, I knocked out this quick jig. There are 2 points where the coach bolts will go through. This longer positive stop butts up on the worktop and locks the pilot hole's offset distance from the edge. When you flip the jig over, the smaller stop now locks up the pilot hole distance on the monitor stand. Pretty simple but effective. Next, I used a long 10mm auger bit to drill from the top all the way down to the bottom of the worktop. I then flipped the table around and drilled out 20mm with a Forstner bit so that the washer and the nuts can stay in that recess. Finally, now sanding it down to 240. Some quick razor grain action, wiped it clean and sanded it down again. For finish, I'm using this tried and tested Osmo Poly-X oil. Overall, I'll be putting in 2 coats of this finish on either sides and also around the edges. Now comes the legs of the sit-stand desk from Flexispot. Flexispot has provided me with a discount code which is down in the description below, but always check this on Amazon and even on their website as they do other seasonal offers which are actually a lot more cheaper than my coupon. The kit comes with decent instructions, all the screws required, the keypad unit for the height adjustment, the power supply unit, and this specific model has dual motors, one on each leg. Assembly was straightforward as long as you read the manual once, or say in my case maybe twice. One thing to note is that this frame can support a wide range of width, around 110 cm to 170 cm. You will see this being extended once I flip the legs on the back of the worktop. So I clamped down the leg and used my combination square to get that perfect offset from the edge. Next is fitting the keypad on the front. I measured a convenient position and drilled out the pilot holes and screwed it in. And now I fitted the control box in which all other parts plugs in. The motor cable from one of the legs goes in here, the cable from the other leg goes next to that, the cable from the keypad goes in here, and the cable from the power supply goes in on the opposite side. The system came with some 3mm cable ties to hold the cables in neatly. With everything in its place, I can now screw in the cable management plate to hide everything up neatly. The legs also comes with some adjustable hard plastic feet. By this time the desk was really heavy and you actually needed 2 people to flip this beast over. So we got it off its feet, but then we hit a problem.
This is not the view you want when navigating the Suez Canal. A giant container ship wedged from bank to
The
bank.
desk was just too tight to turn around, especially with the radiator at that position underneath the window. Luckily, being a sit-stand desk, we could increase the height above the windowsill and turn the entire thing around. With all that done, I now fitted the 3 grommets. I didn't show it, but I used some PTFE tapes to beef up the width of the grommet. Let's now install the monitor stand. As mentioned earlier, for this I would be using coach bolts. I toyed with the idea of gluing it up with dowels and biscuits, but then vetoed it. The plan for this area could always change in the future. Anyway, the coach bolts were just driven in and tightened up from below. This joint is now as solid as it gets. Now going back in time, I created this small tray to hold the power supply extension. I carved a small notch here on the table saw so that this heavy duty angle bracket can sit flush on the top. I also used some additional angle brackets for extra strength. And I painted all these black. This whole power supply tray is designed like the letter J. It's all held together with wood glue, CA glue, pilot holes and screws. This tray is going to sit underneath the worktop like this. I decided to hide all the cut raw plywood edges with some softwood edge banding. Now back in the study room, I used this template to find and drill the screw holes underneath the worktop. It's held in place temporarily with some double-sided sticky tape. Next is fitting these LED strips and cable holders. I bought this color strip light from Amazon. It comes with a 5-meter length strip, a power switch, an infrared remote, a power adapter, and some 3M holding tapes. I also bought this LED light connector kit that includes extension cables, strip jumpers, 1 to 2 port connectors, L-shaped connectors, and some male connectors. Each color LED strip has 4 tabs in it. They stand for the green, red and blue LEDs, and the 4th one is your 12-volt connection. While connecting it via connectors, you have to make sure that the 12-volt polarity of one strip matches to the corresponding 12-volt wire on the other strip, like you see over here. This is one that goes behind the monitor. Now here you have another set of table accessories to hold your cables, chargers, etc. in the groove. They come with 3M sticky tape at the bottom and neatly holds your cables from flopping around. The way I designed the lighting circuit, I needed some custom wiring. Last time I soldered was around 20 years or so ago during my engineering days, and it went something like this.
Did you get the wire out? The red wire?
Huh?
No, you're going to plug that red wire where the blue wire goes in the board.
Here I'm testing the continuity of the wires to double check that no wires are shorted. To finish it off, I then use some heat shrink tubing where applicable. Back at the desk, it was just a question of connecting all the wires together now. One wire runs off to the power supply, the second wire here is the IR sensor and the mic, and the final wire runs off to where the LED strips will be attached. As you know, the LED strips has this 3M backing to hold it in place, and that coupled with these plastic hold down 3M tabs will secure the strip on the worktop. This particular product can be controlled by your phone app on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth and even on its own via its remote. It's also integrated with Alexa and Google, and I have installed it on my Alexa show. This is where one of the 1 to 2 ports connectors comes handy. One branches off to this monitor stand, the other will branch off to the LED strip on the monitor itself. And the input to these are from the strip that was just attached underneath the worktop. With the final strip attached on the back of the monitor, it's time to test all the 3 LED strips. Now, if you just want a sit-stand desk and don't want to go through all the hassle of making your own worktop and all that, you can always get the worktop, the monitor stand, the cable trays, etc. directly from Flexispot or from any such companies. Even IKEA does it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope this video was useful or entertaining. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, bell, like, and comment your feedback below. Thanks again and see you in the next one.